Hi there, Sage Canaday of VO2 Max Productions here with another training talk. Today's question comes from Ninja Guy 123, and it's basically how to periodize your season. If you're racing multiple races, how do you structure your training in a way that you could target these races in peak, reach peak fitness, and when to take a break and when to dial back and change things around if you have multiple races within a season, or a calendar year actually, as most runners go by, myself included. And this is a really good question. I'm gonna try to get right to the point as quickly as possible so I don't rant for too long here, but and thanks again for all the comments and all the thumbs up and support, shares and subscriptions. I really appreciate it, and I want to keep these Training Talk Thursdays going, but it's been something that I've actually found in doing more mountain ultra trail races as well as traditional road marathons, to not only be shifting with multiple races every month or every other month, but also varying in distance, whether it's a half marathon or a marathon or 50 miles, 100 miles, whatever, mountain type of race. And so I think the important thing to realize is that you can't actually be at 100% for very long. You can't be at your peak fitness for really more than 2 months at a time, really. Something's got to give eventually. You're gonna have to go back to reestablishing an aerobic base, or take a break and go back to easy running, wipe the slate clean, so to speak. And so you can't always be batting this 100% all year long, and it showed in my races. Some races definitely I suffered through a lot more, and some of it had to do with specific training as well. But you're gonna either get sick, get the flu or something, you might get a little niggle or pain or injury, or you're just gonna get stale, you're gonna burn out. Mentally there's burnout, but also physically there's a sense of burnout if you actually induce yourself with too much lactic acid from high intensity training and you start destroying aerobic enzymes. You're destroying your aerobic base basically. Or, and this is more common with longer distance runners, marathon and up, you start reaching a point where maybe you've just fatigued your muscle fibers, you've overextended yourself, your endocrine system's begging you to just rest and stop. And running a long distance, racing a long distance isn't really, it's kind of a shock to the system. So if you don't rest appropriately and recover appropriately, you're always going to be digging yourself into that hole of fatigue, which is it could set you back for months and months and months or even longer, and actually cause some permanent damage. So it's important to take a break basically after every race, and that's the first thing that I do in balancing my different races. I've raced almost every month this year except for the month of February and November, although in February I did do a snowshoe race with Sandy. But I do take a break after every ultra. Coming off the North Face 50 now, I haven't run for 4 whole days. I actually haven't done any exercise. I've been really lazy. I've just been drinking every beer, but you need that sometimes, and it's good, I think, mentally to really check out. You could always cross-train, low impact activity, but give yourself a break give your endocrine system a break, I guess, mainly, and let your tendons and muscles heal and recover. And you do lose fitness. I lose fitness after 5 days of not running, for sure, quite a bit. I don't go back to square one just because I have years and years of base, but I'm not totally losing my fitness. And so you're always bouncing off this residual amount of fitness as you take mini breaks. And then if you ran a road marathon, you're really beat up. You definitely should take at least a week off. And when I ran for Hanson's Brooks, I made us take 2 weeks off, which was probably a little too long. You really went back to scratch. But I don't run for at least 5 days, and then I come back very, very slowly, very gradually, and hopefully your next race isn't for at least another month or 2, and hopefully it's not another road marathon, because you really can't do, I'd say I wouldn't really target more than 3 or 4 marathons a year to run really fast. And what a lot of pro marathoners do is they only do 2 marathons a year. They do a spring marathon and a fall marathon. And at Hanson's Brooks, they only let me do 3 marathons every 2 years, which kind of sucked because I wanted to try to make prize money and qualify for Olympic trials and things like that. But it really is important to pick and choose your battles throughout the year and say, I really want to peak for this race, I really want to peak for this race. How many times can you really go 100% and go to the well and say, you know what, I trained for this race for 2 or 3 months and I had this huge buildup, this massive buildup in peak. And that's what you really want. And so obviously you can't do that too many times each year. I think you could be like what I've done the last 2 years in racing frequently, is I was batting about 90% for most of the year. You could hold a pretty high level of fitness all year long, you just don't have the big peaks that you need for like a real breakout performance. That being said, my race last weekend was pretty darn good for the end of the year, and I was really happy with how that turned out. But it could have turned out very poorly. And so you're taking that risk, and you're risking not peaking at the right time, you're risking peaking too early, or getting overtrained and running at a lower level of fitness and having a big blow up or a bad race, or getting an overuse injury, which would probably be the most common. But you know, it is a tough balance, and it does depend on what race distance you're racing. So you know, in the collegiate system, high school, when I raced in school, it was actually pretty easy because it was broken down very precisely for me. In the fall we had cross-country season, and we were racing 5Ks every weekend, or 8Ks in college, sometimes a 10K at nationals. Then in winter, in high school, I didn't have indoor track, so I could reestablish base all winter with my teammates. We'd just build base all winter. Outdoor track happened all spring. We had 3 months burning it hot every week on the track, some anaerobic racing. And then summer was all about building base again. Summer was our big aerobic base building phase. And I think that's really the key takeaway from this video, is that you have to go back and reestablish an aerobic base at some point. After a while, after several months and several hard races, you're gonna be at a peak and you're gonna crash and burn or get injured. So it's all about taking a break, wiping the slate clean, maybe doing some other cross-training activities, cycling, skiing, whatever, and then slowly coming back with just easy aerobic, slow pace, low intensity running, and slowly building back up, introducing some intensity, tempo run workouts like the threshold workouts. Because the bigger base, the bigger aerobic base that you could establish, whether it's 6 weeks or several months, basically the longer you're going to be able to hold your peak when you start adding in VO2 max workouts, harder intensity workouts, tempo run workouts, and things like that, you're going to be able to sustain a longer, more gradual peak of fitness, and you're going to be able to kind of fend off fatigue from over racing or training really hard. And an example when I didn't do that was in high school. Like I said, we didn't have indoor track in the winter, but I wanted to run a fast 3K on the track, and there was this race up in Seattle. I was living down in Oregon, and it was in February, and I told my friend, like, hey, let's do this indoor track race. I could run a really fast 3K. I'm gonna just start doing intervals for 4 weeks. I'm gonna start doing mile repeats, 1,000-meter repeats, 400-meter repeats, and I only had like 4 weeks of base training. I wasn't running real high mileage. I started doing those workouts, and boom, boom, boom. Within a couple weeks, my VO2 max is all revved up. I've got lactic acid in the system. I was running fast. I was in great shape, and I was like, this is awesome. I went out, ran the fastest 3K I've ever run, PR'd. It's my high school PR actually. Not even during the real season. It was really sad. So then I did that in February, keep training hard, doing intervals all spring. By the time April rolls around and we're in the heart of real track season, guess who's not running any faster in the 3K? I'm actually running slower in the 3K, and I ended my season on a very sour note where I kind of was blowing up in the 3K, and I never ran faster again. It was because I didn't reestablish base. I started doing too intense workouts too fast, and I tried to hold 100% peak fitness for months and months and months. And I'm just gonna tell you now, it's not possible to do. You have to sacrifice. You might have to say, maybe I'm doing a B race. Maybe if I'm training for a marathon that's 12 weeks away, maybe I'll do a half marathon in the middle of that. But you have to say to yourself, I'm not gonna run a PR. I'm not gonna run my best half marathon probably, because I'm focusing on this marathon. I can't do both. Maybe you can. Sometimes you get in really good shape marathon training, and you will PR in the half along the way, but it shouldn't be your focus race, because the marathon's your focus race, and that's 12 weeks away. So basically things like that. And then after the marathon, you're gonna have to recover. Or after a 10K, usually you have to recover for a week or two. So it really depends on the race and on the person. Some people are more durable than others, but I will tell you this, you cannot be batting 100% all year long, and at some point something's got to give. It's a delicate balance, and something you kind of have to find out for yourself, but just you can't get greedy. And you know, I should practice what I preach maybe, because I race too much this year especially. And you have to respect your body and respect when to rest and when to come back. And when you come back, you have to come back very slowly and very gradually, so you could reintroduce your muscle fibers, your skeletal muscular system to the stress of training, and then slowly introduce more intensity into your aerobic training type of system. But that's enough of my rant for today. I really appreciate all the views and all the support, all the comments. Thanks for subscribing and sharing this video. And I wish you the best at the end of your holiday season here and the end of the year. But I'll keep the momentum going with training talks, new training talks every Thursday. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.